Hi there. I am happy that you have tuned into Nuggets of Social Studies. Welcome to my viewers. I hope that you are feeling happy and safe in the learning environment today. I also hope that you're feeling beautiful in body, mind, and spirit. Welcome to the series Nuggets of Social Studies with Mrs. Jodian Fagan Taylor. Do you want a nugget today? Of course you all want nuggets, because a nugget is a valuable bit of information. So as you grab nuggets today, I want you to focus on two main questions. One, what is a secondary social group? Two, what are the four main features or characteristics of a secondary social group? Now let me ask you a few guiding questions. Are you a member of a church, a school, or a community? Of course you are. We are all members of at least one secondary social group. Even the very Parent Teachers Association or the political party that people are a part of are examples of secondary social groups. And so now you're going to say, Mrs. Fagan Taylor, so what is a secondary social group? Let us delve into the four main characteristics or features of secondary social groups before we can get that foundation to form a definition for the term secondary social group. Let me ask you another question. How many persons are in your entire school? I am sure it is more than 1,000. How many persons can be found in your church? Perhaps over 500. How many persons are in your community? Perhaps over 2,000 or more. The fact is that in a secondary social group, there are multiple members. There is a large number of members. It is large in size. It is big. No, I am not saying that all secondary social groups are large and have many members. But we are saying that most of them are. So that is your first nugget. The first characteristic of a secondary social group is that it is large in size. It has multiple members. Let me ask you a second question. Do you know everyone in your school? No, you don't. Do you get to interact with everyone at church, everyone in your community, everyone in your school? No, you don't. The fact is that you only get to interact with some members, and the interaction is not frequent. It is irregular because there are so many people in your school, so many persons in your church, so many persons in your community. Hence, the interaction is less frequent. There goes your second nugget. The second characteristic of secondary social groups is that the interaction is irregular. It is less frequent, and you only get to interact with some members, for example, in your school, your church, or community. Let me ask you another question. Do you maintain personal, intimate relationships with all the members of your school, with all the members of your church, with everyone in your community? It is not possible. There are too many members, and therefore here comes your third nugget. The third characteristic of a secondary social group is that the relationship in the group is formal. It is business-like. It is not personal. It is not focused on making friendships. When we come to school, we have a huge devotional exercise. That is business. Then we run to class and you run to class. That is business. When you go to church, there's a specific order. There are rituals in the church. And therefore, this is your third nugget. The third characteristic of a secondary social group is that the relationship in the group is more formal. It is business-like. There are no emotional ties. Now that you have your three nuggets, let us move on to the fourth nugget. Listen to this question again. you valued for in your school, your church, or community? Are you valued because of your personality, because of how nice you are? Are you valued because you dress nicely? Those are the things that they value you for in a school? No, they do not. In a school or a church or your entire community, you're valued based on your contribution. How do you contribute to the secondary social group? For example, in your school, you may be known and valued for being the best singer. You sing in devotional exercise. You may be valued because you gave people a chance to know Porus High, because you actually went to a competition and you won an award for Porus High, right? So you are valued based on your contribution. The same thing goes for your community. If you should start a voluntary group which contributes to the group, to the community, then people will value you for that contribution. So there goes your fourth nugget. The fourth characteristic of a secondary social group is that you are valued based on what you do, the role that you play, the contribution that you have done in your school, you have made in your school, your community, or your church. Let us look back at our four nuggets. The four characteristics of secondary social groups are: 1, it is large, it is big in size, there are many members. 2, interaction in such a group is less and irregular. You only get to interact with some people. Personal relationships in a secondary group, relationships are not intimate. They are formal, they are business-like. And your fourth nugget, you are valued in a social group based on what you contribute. So, Mrs. Fagan Taylor, now that we know the four characteristics of secondary social groups, what is a secondary social group? I will give you a moment to think. You are absolutely correct. When we think about a secondary social group, we are saying this is a large business-like group, or a group that is large with a formal structure where there is less interaction and less intimacy among members of the group. Now that you have 5 nuggets, 4 characteristics, and 1 definition, I want you brilliant students to tell me some other examples of secondary social groups in the society. Let me give you a moment. Guess what? You are all correct. Those are examples of secondary social group. And I'm so happy you mentioned the JDF, the Jamaica Defense Force, the police, the JCF. I'm so happy you mentioned so many things. So thank you for joining me on Nuggets of Social Studies. And I hope that you will join me once again when we bring another subtopic on Nuggets of Social Studies.